Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to use streams and iString stream and pass streams into functions. So the first thing we want to do is define what our goal is. I'm going to be using a sample data file, which I want to read all lines one by one, like line by line. If the line starts with a number, I want to put the even numbers into one output file. So here I made a folder with my examples, so I can put the even numbers. They appear in the example file 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Then I'd read the next line. This next line says hello world, so I'd grab that entire line. This next line has 23, 24, 25. So this is what we hope to see at the end. Now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these two, and I'll just close these over here. That's just the example. So here's our file. We want to start off with our purpose. We want to read from a provided command file and output parse data into two separate output files. So we started with our includes. Fstream is for reading from files, and SStream is for iString stream. Using namespace std, get our int main in here, and we're going to make sure we have the correct number of arguments, otherwise we'll exit out of the function. So the first thing we want to do is create an input file stream to read our command file. So we get it from argv1, where we make our ifstream input, and then we open it up. Now, of course, every time you open up a file, we got to make sure it opens successfully. So we're going to check right here. If it's not open, we'll output a nice message and we'll exit failure. Now we're going to create our two output streams. So here I'm using ofstream for an output file stream. We're going to have int output and char output for the one with all the evens and the one with the strings. Now we're going to be using hard-coded in file names. I don't really love this, but this is just for an example. So we'll open them up. We'll make sure that it's open. So if it's not open, exit. If it's not open, exit. So now we have our three streams open. So we're going to loop through the command file, and we're going to read each line. So first, we're going to create our string line just to hold our data. Currently has garbage values, but now we're going to be using getLine. So while getLine input line, if you remember from the last video, getLine will help you because it'll return false if you reach the end of file. So we know this is actually going to loop through and read every single line all the way up until the end. The first thing I want to do is check if a line starts with a number. So we can check the first character on that line. If it's less than or equal to 9 and it's greater than or equal to 0, that means it's a number. You notice we're using character comparison here because we're reading in strings, even though we want them to be numbers. And then we're going to use our find evens function. So that's going to take an input of line. That's just the data we're passing. And int output is the stream we're going to be outputting. We're going to be using a pass by reference, but we'll get back to that in a second. So else, we'll just write line to file with our line and our char output. So let's go ahead and close our files. We always want to close the files. So here we have char closing, int closing, and our input. If you remember, our input is our command file. Close the command file. So let's define some of our functions. We have a write line to file, which takes a string line and an output file stream reference called output. It's important that we pass by reference here because we want to make sure that we are able to modify the object that we're using. Something to remember is every time you use a stream, you're going to want to pass by reference. So we're going to have our output here. We're going to write to it the line, so write the data, and throw in an end line so the formatting looks nice. Next function we have is our find evens. Our find evens is going to take in our data on the line, and we're going to also have an output file stream output. So this one, if you remember, the two difference is this one's int output and this one is char output. So even though these look the same, we can have a different stream for each one. We are going to create an iString stream. This is a little bit interesting. We're going to be using the constructor of an iString stream that takes in a parameter of a string. So imagine we have a stream, and this here in the middle is the stream. So right now it's empty. When we pass in line, whatever line's data is will go into the stream, and then we can read from that stream very simply. So let me undo that there. And you'll see the next line, we're going to create a temp variable, an integer, and then we can use this, if you remember from the reading from files video, we can read from the iString stream the exact same way we read from a file, using, here's the name of the stream, arrow, arrow, into temp. And this, of course, will loop until we have an error. So now we're going to be using our if statement, if temp %2 equals 0, so just check if the number is even. And if it is even, we're going to print it to the output file. And once again, that is going to be the evens only output file. We don't do anything with the odds, so there's no else condition, and that's going to be our whole function. So now we got to make sure up here at the top, we want to put in our functions. So here they are. We want to be able to compile. I'll save this file and go ahead, check my current directory, clang ++, streams.cpp, -o, and I'm going to call it test. Luckily, no errors, and I'll go ahead and run it now. So /test sample data. And we don't see anything happen, but we can look on the left. Over here, we have a chart output and an int output. So let me open it out. The chart output, everything on this line, everything starts with a char. So that looks good for now. Let's look at our int output. All the numbers are even, so that looks good. Let me do a side-by-side comparison. So I'm going to open up our int output into split screen. Put this down here. And I will also open up our chart output and split screen here. And then we compare it from the sample data. Sample data, the first line we see is the numbers. And we can see the numbers right here. There they are. The next line, we can see successfully went in. And I'll show you a full view of the code right now. Here we go. I hope that helps.